Is it really $1.2 quadrillion when we talk about the futures market moving to blockchain? What does this value really mean? Is it going to end up on blockchain? I wanted to learn more about the futures market and how much money is really at stake. I was shocked to find out it was a lot less than I thought. I believe many people are interpreting this incorrectly because the derivatives market is something we see all the time. I decided to make a movie to explain how I now see it. Quadrillion, which means 600 billion to 1. Quadrillion? Is that really that much? Let's do it. Take the time to better understand this. The swaps market is, in a word, huge. It's often thought to be over $1 quadrillion, thillion at most. But how can that be? That's mostly because there are a lot of derivatives on almost every type of investment asset, like stocks, commodities, bonds, and currencies. Some market studies have even said that the market is bigger than 10 times the world's GDP. These figures are questioned by researchers who say that the size of the derivative swaps market is way too big. So it says that the swaps market is over $1 trillion in notional value on the high end, but some experts think that is way too high. The notional amount of derivatives contracts is included in the higher end of these ranges. The difference between the notional value that is needed or the netted value of derivatives, 600 trillion, and the value that is 12 trillion 400 billion as of 2021 is very big. I looked into this a little more and found that that is, in fact, true. In reality, this is only about 17 trillion. In this case, we need to report or reevaluate where we are and how much of this value will actually make it to the chain. Let's get this set up. This video clip did catch my attention because it's about the swaps market, and I think a lot of people are making the same mistake I was. Let me play this. It looks like Ripple wants to tokenize, or to take on the futures market, which is worth more than $4 quadrillion. XRP will be used for this. Okay, this is not CROSPER. What are payments? It's not this and that. It is the market for swaps. It looks like this is their main goal, to get all the money. That being said, it will be interesting to see how this plays out in the future when rules are put in place and more people start using it. At the end of the day, XRP is either a digital product or a financial instrument. Change the value. Because it moves so quickly, you could even think of it as a bridge exchange to help move value and cash. It's cheap right away and saves energy right away too. So all of the value, or at least a lot of it, starts to move onto the XRP record or network. This is because there is only so much XRP in circulation. After all, it all comes down to supply and demand. It's the way they talk. And that supply and demand, if demand keeps going up and supply is capped, all of this debt, whether it's equity value debt coming onto the network, will cause prices to rise in the long run if we measure it in dollars, both for XLM, the Stellar network, and other cryptocurrencies. Their end goal seems to be to have a peer-to-peer network and a way to pay for things. Okay then, that's why when we looked for this, I thought this was only 17 billion. So the possible move of the over-the-counter derivatives market to blockchain is very valuable. The current gross market valuations can be used as a guide for the four-step process. As of the middle of 24, the OTC derivatives market's gross market value was only $17.1 billion, down 14% from the previous year due to changes in interest rate policies. It also says that this number, which is the placement cost of all outstanding contracts, shows real economic exposure better than a very big number like 600 trillion notional value. A lot of this is, profit, yes? Has a lot of futures options. You know that this interest inside it might not always get where it needs to go. Because of this idea of value of 600 trillion, you only have contracts worth about 17 trillion. So it's really interesting to see how all of this plays out, says the market. Smart. Segments are ready for change. According to estimates, blockchain-based smart contracts could fix 12 trillion in organizational inefficiencies related to contracts automation. This is especially true for post-trade tasks like collateral management and reconciliation. The XRP ledger would be great for this, and it does talk about crypto derivatives. The volume of crypto over-the-counter derivatives rose by 313% in 2025, which means that bigger companies are starting to use derivatives on the XRP ledger and on the DT. It also says technological and regulator, the regulatory framework for ready distribution. Ledger technology could cut the cost of accounting by 30 to 50% in post-trade processing, and it would also let regulators keep an eye on things in real time. There is talk about mixed systems that don't go into. That talks about when to adopt. For a full migration to happen, problems with standards and integration with legacy systems would have to be solved. 5 to 10% of the gross market value, which should only be about 855 billion to 1,700 million, is what BIS thinks should happen. Zero could change by February 1930, which is a lot less time than many people thought at first. That's why I wanted to talk about this with you all and see what you thought. Just so you know, did you always understand the futures market? I always thought you were very good at it. As I dug deeper into this, a light bulb went off in my head. Okay, it's going to be a little harder to get to a very high price unless you have some kind of market multiplier. So I asked it a bunch of questions and said, let's say the problem is in the derivatives markets. You switch to a shared record like XRP, moving the 17 trillion into true. What would happen to the XRP if that happened? Price. I also said, let's think about Ash. I use 1x, 5x, 10x, 50x, and 100x multipliers because I like to see what kinds of changes the price can make. And this goes up to, 17 quadrillion to 85 quadrillion. These only have the increase, right? When you multiply 17 trillion by 5, you get 85.